Hey guys, today has been a brilliant day. This morning I talked about reflecting back, looking back. I talked about the things we do as youngsters, as kids, the games we play as kids that actually hints at or that are signs of who we actually are, or who we actually supposed to grow up to be. And yeah, this morning I was reflecting on it from a positive perspective. But throughout the day, I remained on that reflective road. And I went to a meeting regarding a community enterprise I'm working on, which is like an integration community where I'm going to bring my passions together and share them with my community, because I believe in strong communities and I believe in sharing passions. And so it's gonna be about communities coming together. Forget about color, forget about race, forget about gender, forget about age, forget about creed, forget about status. Just people in communities coming together in a safe environment where we can talk, where we can share things, where we can engage, even if it means just having a cup of tea and a cookie, or a cup of tea and a cupcake, but just a place where we can leave our concerns behind or bring them in so that we can break them down and turn them into positives. So anyway, I was a bit tearful a few minutes ago. And I'm really trying to hold it together. Don't get worried, these tears are not totally bad tears, but sometimes you look back and you remember and you see things that are kind of like light bulb moments that you missed when you actually faced them. And I was looking back and I was thinking, I've always been a storyteller. I've always been a speaker. I've always been a writer. And I've done these things for as long as I can remember. From very young. Like I talked earlier on that I used to hold this folder with me. And I used to jot down things like what we need to do, what we're going to do, when we're going to do it, and all these things. But afterwards, sometimes I would write stories about it. I would write stories of how it had all gone on. And I would write about what worked and what didn't work. I didn't even realize what I was doing. But I actually had I think in business they would call it a business structure, a format, which was think about things, come up with ideas. I mean, like brainstorm, come up with ideas, shape a plan out of them, allocate duties according to people's abilities and skills or passions, and then activate that plan. And at the end of it, look at it. What has worked? What hasn't worked? What can we do next time to make it better? I've always done that. And I never realized, I would never have known that as a grown-up, you actually have to go to school to learn to do that. It came naturally with me. The reason why I was a bit emotional is that as much as I have been saying that as parents, we are supposed to watch our children, get to know them, facilitate their passions, identify their skills, and help them achieve or help them propel them forward, I just realized that a decision I made after I had my son kind of prevented me at the right age to be there to support my son's passion, my son's skills. And because I had to leave him behind when I came to England to kind of shape up a better lifestyle for me and him. As a single mom, all the decisions were on me. And I was really struggling to look after him back in Zimbabwe. I was struggling not from a financial perspective, but from an emotional perspective. So I was dealing with a lot of deep-rooted hurts, deep-rooted wounds, and deep-rooted fears that I felt as long as I was in that zone, as long as I was in that place, I was not able to dissect them. I was not able to deal with them. So I had to remove myself from the atmosphere, from the place, go somewhere where I could introspect, where I could retrospect, introspect, where I could find myself, so to speak, and make myself that kind of person who would be able to be there for my son in the right way, not just financially. Financially, I was doing quite well. I had a very good job. And when I did say I was leaving the country, I left a lot of people in shock because I'd kept a secret from them, a secret that was eating me up inside. And so me saying all of a sudden I'm going to go to England, I was like, what the hell? What is she doing? Her son is so young and, she's leaving him behind. But I couldn't bring him with me, not knowing where I was going to be, what I was going to do, how I was going to find myself, and how I was going to mold myself into this good enough mom. Anyway, me removing myself from home meant I removed myself temporarily for that period from my son. And that's the age that I was talking about earlier, that from birth to about 7 years old, you take in everything, you learn everything, you get exposed to good or bad, and depending on what you get exposed to, those things are what you take with you into adulthood. I see that from so many angles with my son, and it's not an easy thing to watch. He's a strong young man, but he's strong because of life, because life has made him that way. My son is a talented young man. He is good with his hands. He fixes things without even studying them, without looking at books. He fixes things. He creates things as well. He draws like you could. I'm going to show you. This is why I got a bit emotional right now and tearful, because if you check my room right now, my lounge is full of papers and everything, because I decided to put things together so I can prepare for this community integration thing properly. I need documentation. I need proof of what trainings I've done to equip myself for it. I need paperwork to basically create a database that shows I am able to do this, I am qualified to do this, and I have done the minimum legal requirements to start it. And in the process of doing that, I came across a book that I've been asking my son, where's that book? Where's that book? For a long time. And this is a book that he used to hold on to so tightly would never let it go and would never really easily give it to anybody to look at. I think I'm the only one he's ever allowed to look at it. And there was a point when we moved to Ireland, and things happened there as well. And he said he was going to throw it away because it wasn't helping him anymore. In a nutshell, what he was saying was drawing used to be his survival mechanism. I write books. I've written about 3 books that I've finished. I finished the 3rd one last night that haven't been published because I can't afford it, but I know one of these days I'm going to publish those books. And my reason for writing is because it's therapeutic to me. Crafts is therapeutic to me. Music is therapeutic to me. Everybody has their own ways of comforting themselves, of keeping themselves strong, of finding therapy if they have to do it by themselves or on their own. We all have that capacity to dig within and pull out survival mechanisms, survival skills. And I'm going to show you a few pictures of what he drew when he was about 5 years old, 4, 5, 6 years old. And you will understand why I'm a bit tearful, because back then it was like, oh, it's not something that you can make anything out of. It's not something that you can make money out of. It's not something that you can make as a career out of. Back in Africa, everybody thought everybody has to be a teacher, a nurse, a doctor, a professor, a school principal, a college principal, or, you know, white collar professions, basically. Anything else was beneath standards. And I remember I was also an artist. I can draw, but I remember being told, you are a woman, art is a dirty game. You'll be too scruffy, no one will notice you, no men will notice you. You need to drop. I was made to drop art as a subject from high school because I was a woman. Anyway, I'm not gonna dwell on that. I'm just saying, if I had been with my son at that age, I probably would have contributed in shaping who he became today. But I couldn't be in 2 places at the same time. I had to weigh what was more important. And to me, it was more important to be able to put food on the table, to be able to educate him, and to be able to be there for him in the right emotional state of mind. Otherwise, I probably would have dumped all my emotional, mental state struggles on him as a child, and that wouldn't have been fair. But I'm gonna show you what he used to draw when he was that young. And he used to do as well, what do you call them, comics. He had a comic book that he did. That one as well, I think he threw it away at some point when things were happening in Ireland. But I managed to pick this up, and when we came back to England, I had it, and then it went missing, and I thought he had thrown it away. I just found it today, and that really got to me. And you're probably wondering why I'm wearing this thing. This also is very symbolic in my life. It saved my life the last 2 winters in the freezing cold when I was not able to heat up my flat. This is almost like a blanket. It kept me warm. It kept my knee that was recovering warm. And anyway, have a look at this. These are drawings done by a 5, 6-year-old. Unfortunately, I've ended up scribbling some things on it. Shouldn't have done that, but hey, look at that. Look at that. This is the drawing that I did and took to school when we were in Dublin, and I took to school as a project that they'd been asked to do at home, and the school said he had plagiarized rang me, called me into school to say to me that I shouldn't encourage my son to pass work, somebody else's work, as his, when he had basically just took it from somebody else. And I knew he had drawn this before in this book, but I couldn't find the book. Anyway, I made them sit down and draw something to prove that he was actually capable. And he did draw something. And they were all like, whoa. Just like I always go, whoa, when I look at this. Look at that. These are drawings that were made by somebody who was 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I think he stopped about when he was about 11. When things happened, I can't share those things because he's a grown young man now, and I can't. It's not up to me to share because that is his story. But I just want to demonstrate to somebody what I mean when I say support your children with their skills and their talent. Support them. Look at this. Look at this. Can you believe that was hand drawn? Not traced, hand drawn. I watched him draw these things. Look at that. Look at that. And this business of not supporting our children, I strongly believe, is one of the reasons why he ended up dropping this. Anyway, the book is quite big and there's quite a lot in there. I could go on, but I think you all get the message. He has started drawing again. He's actually picked the modern way of doing it. And I really pray that he follows it through, that he sees what this could do for him. He still talks about it as a hobby, but I think there's more to it than that. I don't think there's anything wrong with turning your hobby into something lucrative, into something sustainable, and into something that puts you up there. Anyway, I just needed to share this. Sometimes if you're genuine, you have to make yourself vulnerable. I know a lot of people see me dressed up, looking all fancy and whatever, and they think I'm always like that. I have my moments when I'm actually emotional from a positive perspective, emotional from a negative perspective. I am human. And I cry sometimes. Crying is also therapeutic. And there's nothing wrong with that. You don't always have to act the suited person or the perfect person. Sometimes your strength comes from making yourself vulnerable. Sometimes your strength comes from your rock bottom. Sometimes your strength comes from looking back, from reflecting and seeing just how far you've come, just how strong you've been, and just how much you've done without giving it credit, without giving it value, without applauding yourself. I'm talking today about personal, individual power. You have power in you. You have a lot of things that you probably have thought, oh, this is nothing. This is just a hobby. This was just my way of surviving. Somebody out there is looking for a way to see themselves through tough times, and they have the answer within themselves. They have the answer in their hands. They just don't realize it. They just need somebody to appreciate, to signpost, to be a sounding board, and to direct that. In normal circumstances, we all want to present as perfect human beings, and realistically, in normal times, I would have dressed up to do this video. I would have made up, I would have done my hair, I would have worn something, spot on so that I look the part. But I'm saying to you, the value of what you do is not in how you look. It's in how it impacts your life, how it impacts those around you, and how it makes a difference. I hope this touches somebody. I hope this means something to somebody. Value yourself. Give value even to those little things that brings pleasure to you. It doesn't matter if anybody else does not see it as pleasurable. If it's doing you good, then it's worth it. Have a lovely evening, guys. And again, give the true you to your family. Give the true you to your community. Give the true you to your economy. Give the true you to your world. And hopefully I will be in that world. I love you as always. Take care.